Your own private community lake in the middle of the Las Vegas desert. You gotta see it to believe it. Hey everyone, Cosmo Morabbi here, and today we are going to be talking about the pros and cons of living in the master plan community of the Lakes here in Las Vegas, Nevada. If this is your first time to the channel, we focus on what it's like living here in Las Vegas and do our best to visually share what areas look like. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Lakes. This is a community that's home to over 4,000 homes and is highlighted by the main man-made lake. When we're looking at it on a map, I like to break it down into really two different areas, or this area that has a oval shape on the west side of town, and then the rest of the lakes over on the east side of the community. This area does have some great shopping on both the north and south sides of its borders. While there are a few businesses located in the actual community, on the northern side of town, there are plenty of businesses that border the community. The Lakes was primarily built in the 1980s and 90s, so you're gonna find older homes in this area with older style layouts. With that said, let's jump into the pros, cons, and neutrals about living at the Lakes. So the Lakes Master Plan was built to be one of the elite communities in the late 80s and 90s, and it housed actually several celebrities. One of the outstanding features of the Lakes is its dedication towards being a community that is walkable for all. So many homes in Las Vegas do not have a traditional sidewalk, let alone a large sidewalk like you see here. So it's really easy to notice that you live somewhere like the Lakes because of these sidewalks, and that there are a ton of people walking outside all times of the year. In the summertime, they're out there early in the morning or late at night, and in the fall and spring, they're out there throughout the entire day, whether they're walking, jogging, sitting on the benches, or just enjoying one of these nice features that are available here at the Lakes. The Lakes is one of those communities in Vegas that can make you feel like you're not in a desert. So with the new water restrictions that have been put in place here in Vegas, saying that new construction homes cannot have real grass in their front yards, and then having increasing efforts to convince current homeowners to transition their front yard grass to desert-friendly landscape, communities that have a lot of vegetation like the Lakes are becoming scarce. For instance, you're not going to be seeing things that you see at the Lakes in new communities. One of those things being these roundabout areas that really define the Lakes, and they have these small ponds, or if you really want to call them lakes, with little waterfalls and ducks that like to swim in there. It's these features that really help separate this community from all the other communities that are available here in Las Vegas. The Lakes sits on the western part of town, just east of Summerlin, and it has everything you could possibly need within a short drive. The borders of this community are some of the most recognizable streets that we have in Las Vegas, including Sahara, Desert Inn, or DI as we like to call it here, Hualapai, and Rainbow. Within these major streets combined, there are so many shopping centers that are nearby. Then on top of this shopping, right outside the community, you have activities and experiences like Desert Breeze Park, Canyon Gate Golf Course, and then if you take just a short drive to the northwest, you're gonna hit downtown Summerlin. And just to be clear again, the Lakes, while it's close to Summerlin, it's not part of the Summerlin Master Plan. So now that we've covered these pros of living in the Lakes, let's talk about some of the cons. So the homes at the Lakes are a bit older and are hitting that 30 to 40-year-old mark. And with these older homes, you tend to get, again, those traditional floor plans, and those don't necessarily meet the needs of today's buyers. And many of these homes may require updating, or in some cases renovations, just to keep up with regular maintenance. Now, if you're looking to invest in a home that sits near the large lake in the Lakes, one thing that I'd like to point out is that I've had a recent buyer in there, And one of the things inspectors will tell you is that because the home sits next to the lake, you need to make sure to check for damage that can be done from moisture that comes from the lake. So these inspectors have told me that these homes that were built there weren't necessarily built to handle the moisture that comes from the lake. And this is very apparent when you can take a look at a home that has dual pane windows that may be original to the house. You're going to be able to see the moisture that has come between those dual pane windows. You also want to pay very close attention to the roofing, because again, that moisture is different when it comes off the lake than if you live somewhere else in Las Vegas. And this is a reminder that you should always get an inspection when you're purchasing a home, and make sure that it's done by an experienced and professional inspection company. If you don't live in the communities that surround the large man-made lake, you're not going to have access to that lake. Unfortunately, you have to live within those specific gated communities and not in the areas around it. This community has its own HOA, so if you are living in there, you're going to expect to pay two different fees as well. One's going to be for the master plan, that is the lakes, and then a separate HOA fee for that community that surrounds the man-made lake. Surprisingly, this is common here in Las Vegas, especially if you live in a larger master plan. So the other lake communities like Lake Las Vegas and Desert Shores may also have these smaller communities that have a separate HOA fee on top of the master plan. There is a distinct smell that comes with a man-made lake, and the longer that that lake is actually there, the stronger that smell might be. Now, you're gonna have to be the judge for me on this, but if you're ever close to that large man-made lake at the lakes, you're gonna have to let me know if you are able to smell that distinct smell that comes from the lake. Now that we've covered the pros and cons, let's talk about some of the neutral items that we find here. For some particular reason, every time that I travel to the lakes, I always see a security or police vehicle drive by. And depending on how you look at it, this might be a positive or negative for you. But yeah, it's pretty consistent whenever I go there that I'm going to run into one of these vehicles. So in the beginning of the video, we mentioned that most of the homes were built in the 80s and 90s, and some people are going to love these older style homes, or they might love that the older homes have been flipped and renovated and updated, and they like the style. And it's really just going to come down to your preference again. This is why this topic sits in the neutrals. But the homes here at the lakes do seem to be actually a bit sturdier or bulkier, if you want to say, than the newer homes or the newer parts of town in Las Vegas. And that might actually be appealing to some people, and it might be a turnoff to others. Also, with these older homes, you tend to have larger lots and backyards. And while it's not always the case, this might be a strong positive for some people. By the way, if you are from out of town and are thinking of making a move here to Las Vegas, please reach out. Me and my team would love to be your relocation guides here. We cover everyone in Las Vegas, Henderson, Boulder City, and Pahrump. And if you already live here and you're trying to navigate purchasing a home while you're renting, or you are a current homeowner that needs to sell and purchase your home, we'd love to be able to help you with that as well. Feel free to give me a call anytime at 702-408-7959. Thank you so much for watching. We truly appreciate it. And if you like this video of the lakes here in Las Vegas, make sure you watch our other lake community videos such as Desert Shores and Lake Las Vegas. This is Cosmo Morabbi with the Living Las Vegas and Henderson channel, and we'll see you on the next one.